There we go. Just needed to speak a little louder. Sorry about that, everyone. Hello, and sorry for the delay. We were waiting on one more, but it's just going to be a smaller panel today. I'm Chris Moreno. I'm head of global development and partnerships for Drop Locker and Laundry Locker here in San Francisco. We're going to be having a little panel here with a great team of folks who are doing some incredible things here in the U.S. and abroad. Basically, I want to just keep it short and allow you the opportunity to answer a few questions. And then I do want to open up to a few questions in the audience. So hopefully you can come up with some real zingers to make it fun. So first off, I'd like to introduce our panelists. First off, we have Jose Mateos from Spain, right here on my left. We have Jorge Zavala from Mexico as well. And then we have Jonathan Nelson as well. And the first question I want to ask each of you, and you're more than welcome to share any statistics or any knowledge that you have for our gracious audience. But when you're looking at startups and when you're giving recommendations, you tell them obviously have your elevator pitch down, right? Have it down, have it succinct, have it so it's empowering others and clear. So if you can tell us what your pitch is to others and what you're really working and focusing on in a short 30-second pitch. That'd be helpful. No problem.
I wasn't ready for this.
Yeah.
So I'm vice president of the Spain Chamber of Commerce here, and what we do, we help Spanish entrepreneurs and Spanish companies to come over Silicon Valley to make it happen here. Also, we do the opposite. We get the companies here, businesses in California in general, and help them to establish and do business in Spain. We have a bunch of programs. We have a bunch of affiliations with the different governments in Spain and here in the US as well. And we are happy to help everybody.
In terms of help around Spain, you are here in the U.S. and you work with, and you have a team of people here in the U.S. as well?
Yeah, we are here. We are here in San Francisco.
Great. So you're the entire relationship between any startups in Spain and back here in the U.S. as well?
Yes. This Chamber of Commerce started like 4 years ago with a bunch of executives, Spanish executives here in the Valley that wanted to help out other entrepreneurs and other professionals coming from Spain, and also the other way around. And now we have different companies doing that. Not only the Chamber of Commerce, but we have the Spain Tech Center, which is an accelerator for startups from Spain coming to Silicon Valley. We have an Imagine Creative Center for ideas, or for people with great ideas coming to formalize, to put some, I don't know how to say, it's more ideas to
ideas,
make it
creativity
here.
Help push them along in the process.
Exactly,
Great.
here. So they have to come back to Spain and make it happen there before coming back with a startup.
Awesome.
So,
okay, great. Well, thank you. Yeah, and we'll move along here. So if you can, we all have mics. Great. And Jorge, can you give us a little breakdown of what you're working on?
Okay, well, I have been here in the Valley for almost nine years now. I came originally with a project with the government of Mexico in how we can help the Mexican companies to get into the entrepreneur environment of Silicon Valley. I did that for 8 years. It was a tremendous experience. I really enjoyed being working with more than 700 companies that came, learn how to do the business, face all the problems that we have been talking in the morning. Then you have a great idea, or you believe that you have a great idea. You get into the global market and you find out that the global market has too much competition, is very hard, and you need to figure out that is selling outside of your neighborhood is much more complicated when you go into one of the places like Silicon Valley that is really the capital of innovation. In that sense, it was a tremendous learning experience for me. And about a year ago, I decided that was a missing part into this process. This concept of incubator accelerators is a great way to help the people in how to transform some ideas into companies. But one of the things that I figured out was the first step that is very critical. If you want to get into build a great company, you need to invest into the very early stage in how to figure out that your idea is focusing to a market that the people really is willing to pay. You have the capability to do that. And the lean startup methodology came to try to solve this problem. But when you come from abroad, you don't have that same cultural environment that you have it here. And I decided to create some boot camps. Then I try to focus in how in 30 days you can analyze from the problems that you really see on the environment, how you convert that into an idea, that idea, how it really is feasible to build as a project, and that project really could be a great company. And that process, we call it the bootcamp build or die. Or you create a great company or you die on the way.
Awesome, I like that. Build or die. There you go. All right, and then lastly, Jonathan, if you can give us the synopsis of what you're working on right now.
Hackers and founders, our mission is to make founders' lives suck 34% less in Silicon Valley and around the world. We've grown from 5 dudes, dude being gender neutral. Is that kind of like güey in Spanish? Is güey gender neutral? And I don't know. We've grown from 5 dudes in a bar in Sunnyvale to the largest networking group in Silicon Valley of early tech founders. We have 11,000 members. In Silicon Valley alone, we have 70,000 members in 51 cities in 20 countries around the globe. We also have an incubator.
Okay, and where's that incubator located?
The last 3 classes have been wherever we could find space. Like a traditional startup, we are chronically underfunded and understaffed and run around like chickens with our heads cut off. We are in the process of closing a $1.5 million round. We have 1.2 million committed. If anybody's interested, talk to me. And our space, we're looking at space in Menlo Park right now.
Okay, great. So yours was build or die, and yours is hack or die. So it sounds like
hack or die, yeah.
All right, great. So we'll start with you, Jonathan. And the next question is this is really about what does that global landscape look like, right? So for you, you're working in many different countries around the world. You're working with teams who are trying to decide, do I stay here? Do I go somewhere else? What is, in just a short statement, what does that landscape look like to you today, and where do you think it's going?
The Silicon Valley meme of 2 gender-neutral dudes in a garage building a startup or building a new company is going viral globally. I think that process started about 6 years ago. We started 5.5 years ago, so we've been kind of right in the middle of it. And it's been processes like Jorge's amazing work here in Silicon Valley. I gave 4 talks for the organization that Jorge ran, and out of that, Kinevo, and out of that, we've expanded to 12 cities in Mexico. And that idea of starting a Hackers and Founders chapter and entrepreneurs getting together and supporting each other, what happens there in those, just kind of that community it's built, that local community, is just fantastic and amazing.
Great. And how about yourself?
Yeah, well, one of the things is quite interesting that I hear in the morning some people that say, hey, the Latinos are not well represented, we don't have the opportunities. And one of the things that after being here, you get and you start looking and say, hey, it's very hard to get into being a successful startup. But the question that nobody asked was, that's the same problem for the local people? And that's completely true. Is even for the local people, even then they came from Stanford or the University of California University, they also has a very hard time. And in that sense, I wrote a book that is called Think Like Silicon Valley, Being Anywhere. In the sense that outside of Silicon Valley, even in the States, if you go to LA, it's the same kind of things that the people need to figure out. Creating these great companies has a process that is quite important to be learned. And this environment of meeting people is you get here and you start talking to the people on the side and how we build that relation. We met in some event in Silicon Valley. We take, hey, can you go to talk to one of my events? And we start to build that relations. Santiago was telling that it's not just meeting the people. It's you need to learn how to nurture the relationship. And that is the real network, is collecting business cards. You can see my desk. I have thousands of them. You have seen that.
So you're saying don't, if you're someone in the audience, don't give you your business card because you're not gonna, it's gonna go into a stash.
No, I build a lot of relationships, but
Okay.
to whom you build the relation
To
is very
follow up.
important.
Correct.
And that is quite, the follow-up is to whom you follow up with the people that has a good pitch, and you mark the business card with an asterisk and say, I need to send it a letter and just as soon as I arrive to my house, and you start to build the connection. That is quite important. But if you give a talk and say, I am seeking for money, and what is your idea? Well, I am thinking about that. Is you touch, you cross by the business card and throw on the garbage. Because you need to talk to the people that are really with a very, very high passion and say, I have this great idea that is going to solve these problems, and I am very good to do that because I have the experience, so I met people, or I did so many trials and pivot to find out how to solve that problem.
Great. All right, thank you. And Jose, for Spain and for even other countries that might be touching Spain, can you tell us a little bit about the landscape there?
Well, the entrepreneurship there just is booming. And I just started like 2 years ago for two reasons. One is some success here in Silicon Valley, and it was very well, we're in all the press in Spain that some companies here are raising money and they had some exits. So people started to say, hey, yeah, I want to do that as well. And the second reason, I think this is more important, is like there is a big crisis in Europe, mainly in Spain and other countries, that, it's like, I think it's over 30% of unemployment for people under 35 years old. So they are forced to do something else. And that is entrepreneurship. They started their own, with the knowledge, they started their own their companies. Mostly the VC money goes, right now in Spain, they go for internet services and technology. And, but we are experiencing a lot of new startups getting smart money, not just the VC environment, but the VC environment is more professional right now. We have around like 78 VCs in Spain. And we
Is
have...
that 78 throughout Spain? Or
78 in Spain, local VCs,
Okay.
and 15 international VCs investing in Spain, with office in Spain already. We have, I think, 14 accelerators, way more than any other country except UK, any other country in Europe, except the UK. They have like 50 accelerators.
And they don't speak Spanish.
They don't
so,
speak Spanish, so
yeah.
they don't count.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's booming. They are everywhere. Startups are everywhere, and the main players as well. The VCs, the accelerators, the angels, and all the services around that. And as I said before, we have 2, 3 companies or institutions, or even more, helping those Spaniards come here and make it happen. On the other way around, from here to Spain, there are a few governments, like local governments, trying to do that, but they are not like really pushing it, and they are not really doing it well. Like this, the typical Startup Chile program kind of thing. We want to do that, and we will next year. That's one of our focuses, and we'll be there.
Okay. So it sounds like with 30% unemployment, that's staggering. There's probably a wealth of a pool of people who are looking to work or
Yeah.
looking to help startups, or and there's people who could use this to help the economy.
Right.
Okay, great. So that kind of ties into our next question, which is the type of people, the type of industries that you're really focused on. You kind of alluded there to certain types of platforms, but is there a specific, if you could call out maybe 2 or 3 of the types of industries or types of people? Are you looking for people straight out of college? Looking at it for people who have been successful in previous startups or whatnot, or is there a type of person that you're looking to work with?
The beauty, at least the beauty in Spain, is like, because of the crisis, there are 2 kind of people. The guys just going out from college, they have nothing to do right now because there is no really employment over there. And the guys over 40 that just get laid off, they have the experience and they have the money, and they want to do something with that experience. So they don't want to go out. They don't want to go to the US or Latin America or other countries in Europe. They want to stay home in Spain, but still they want to do something. They have to do something, right? So they now they have this have mentors. We have executives, teaming up with tech guys, with coders, with people coming from right out the college, starting startups everywhere. Like, literally, they are everywhere.
When you say that, you mean people in Spain, but people coming from other countries. So for like our audience, if they were thinking of where to go to, are there quite a few people coming from outside of Spain to come to Spain?
Yeah, most of them are coming for the MBAs. We have 3 out of the top 20 or top 15 business schools in Spain. And I think more than 50% of the students are from Latin America.
Okay, 15, wow, okay, great. Well, I have to admit, I am slightly biased. I went to school in Madrid at Carlos Cesera, and we've expanded our business to Barcelona recently. So, but I also want to hear from the 2 other panelists as well.
Well, that's quite interesting. Who is my target in some way? After working for an accelerator 8 years, working with a lot of companies, I always say, hey, focus, find the right market where to find. And I decided to Kinevo when I started to test the different markets. And we originally were thinking that the earliest stage of the projects in startups should be our best goal. We tried it, we tested, we run a boot camp with remote and local things, and that's something that we need to talk about, how to do that with Spain, with Mexico, with all the countries, because we run a program that we put professors, students all together. The professors were not professors, were part of the teams of projects. We bring it here to Silicon Valley, and we replicate the same event into 8 cities in Mexico at the same time. We run it for 30 days, 400 students. We ended, thanks to Jesse Martinez, in a runway accelerator closing event with all these people. And was quite fantastic how we integrate the students and professors in building these capabilities. You remember you were there, and was very much, the professors were surprising how much they can learn despite that they were into the entrepreneur environment within Mexico. And after that, we start talking in how to do that exactly in government, how to do the same thing with large companies in Mexico. And then we found out that the market for us was whoever wants to create a new spin-off, a new project, or a new activity needs to focus into the very early stage to create a very solid ground in a way to work together. And at the beginning, I was thinking to do that from Mexico because my relation with Mexico. And now, well, we need to talk about how to build that globally, because Silicon Valley is one of the places that has the advantage, I guess, even more than New York. And the people, was some people in the morning that New York used to be the center of business, but here is the center of innovation. How we bring people from all the world, put it all together into the same room, discuss these things, and replicate that to happen into global kind of things. And that is a way to explode the capability of how to build great companies everywhere.
I don't really look for teams. Like, this was never really intended to be a business. It started off literally with 5 dudes and me hanging out in a bar and talking. And next month it was 8 dudes. And next month it was 13 dudes. And next month and
And
now,
dudettes?
Dudettes. What?
Dudettes,
Dudes,
okay.
Dude.
Combination.
Dude, gender neutral. And you know, but like 15% of our membership is female. My wife is my co-founder, and she's usually the greeter at our events, and she runs Hackers and Founders Women. And but we're trying to respond to this global grassroots movement that is happening, and trying to create focal points for these people to kind of come in and get together. And what happens at these networking events, for instance, 4.5 years ago, we were hosting an event at the Hacker Dojo, and we were out of I'm a PC, and I didn't have an adapter for a Mac for the projector. And I'm like, holy crap, we have 200 people at this event. I need a projector for a MacBook. Anybody in Santiago Zavala says, yo tengo uno en mi apartamento. And so Santi and I went to his house. I dropped him off. He got me the projector. We started talking. We've been friends ever since. I now run an accelerator here in Silicon Valley. Santi runs one in Mexico City, and we're talking about how to hack the Latin American ecosystem in terms of startups. And so for me, it's this organized chaos that I kind of love and thrive in, and it's trying to create a little bit more of a focal point and concentration for this organized chaos that happens. So what do you look for? What projects do you look for? Is weird. Projects find me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, and it sounds like more individuals that will come to you. So,
Individuals, and occasionally, when you're a community organizer of the largest group of nerds building startups in Silicon Valley, someone introduces you to the White House staffer in charge of immigration.
great.
They ask you, do you have any immigration problems in Silicon Valley? And you say, yeah. And you start working on that.
Great answer. Well, I do want to ask one more question, and I want to open it up to the audience for questions. So if we can keep the last one brief, we're running out of time here. The last question is really if you can share, and I heard a couple numbers come out here, and I think numbers are really powerful. You know, numbers can lie, but rarely lie. And I'd like you to share some numbers that you might know off the top of your head, and any recommendations that you have for people either to follow up with you or how to make a decision on if they're trying to decide whether I stay in Silicon Valley or I go to San Jose or I go to another country. So that would be a great way to tie it up. Would you like to go? Yeah.
So in terms of global numbers, I'm absolutely convinced there are going to be native billion-dollar companies coming out of Latino America. 500 million Spanish speakers in the world, 40% internet penetration, a market that's been growing, a GDP that's been growing 6 to 8% across the entire sector for the last decade, while the entire rest of the world's economy is in a slump. I'm insanely bullish on Latino America, and that's why I spend so much time. I was just in Mexico last month, in Uruguay, a couple weeks ago, and that's kind of my passion. So happy to help. I think that there's amazing opportunities here. I think there's also a lot of opportunities that people will never see here. And I actually think that use your location if you're based in La DF, or if you're based in Guadalajara, or if you're based in Barcelona, use that as a competitive advantage to solve the problems of your businesses there, because business solutions that you might be able to solve in Guadalajara might be able to be replicated in Sao Paulo, might be able to replicate it in Santiago, Chile, and not necessarily in the US market.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, in some direction, I am seeing a movement that is getting very much global. And the communication and the connection is so easy to be everywhere that we need to figure out how, taking the advantage that you are located here, you have a counterparts in other countries. In fact, I am now leading an organization from the government of Mexico that is how to integrate the diaspora of Mexicans living abroad. We expect that we are 1 million Mexicans living outside of Mexico that are professional people, then how to link that capabilities from the local place to a remote place. And that kind of connection is an opportunity. How these kind of things that you are talking in Spain is when you have this amount of people that is a capability available, how we can use it everywhere. That is something that I am really seeking, how to create new models that you don't need to really move from one city to other. You need to learn, you need to get into the place, you need to get the flavor, because really everybody say, I want to create my own Silicon Valley. For me, that's almost impossible. And I can bet that even if you want to create the Silicon Valley in the Silicon Valley, if not exists today, it's not possible to be done again. Was something that happens in the space of time, very particular. In that sense, is how you focus in building great points, how you find that this networking open the access to mentoring. That's a subject to be really talking, because one of the values or the most valuable thing I see in Silicon Valley is this concept of mentoring, where you reach people that has done a company. They told you in the previous conversation was very well shown, and a lot of people has been very successful, but there were a sample of the people that has been successful. If you take TechCrunch, or if you take VentureBeat, you see hundreds of thousands of new companies created every year with a lot of expertise in the people and the access to talk to them is very easy if you have the right questions to promote, then the people get interested in you.
Great. And Jose, if you'd like to follow up with some any numbers or information on recommendations.
Recommendations. Well, numbers, I already threw a few over there. I have more on top of my head. Something like in Spain, for example, we have, last year, we had 350 venture movements out there with 160 million in venture capital moving around. That means an average of 500,000 euros per venture move.
Per company? Per investment?
Per investment. Per investment. There is a big environment of help, just help from the government to start to kick off some companies there. So in the case of Spain, it's easier to raise money there or start raising money there than here. There's a lot of competition there. Here, there's not that much of good ideas, good executives in Spain, while there is money to put in there. One other thing that I think you both said something very interesting. It's not about the networking and the people you know and all these things. It's more about the mentorship you can get and also the figures, the people you can follow, you can aspire to be. And the more Latinos or Spaniards we have in a very high position with exits for startups and so on, and they want to participate in the community, more people will aspire to be there. And that is very important. And one more thing, while preparing this talk, I come across a very interesting statistics. And one is that where are the millennials leaders in tech right now? And what they say is they are big per country was Colombia, Peru, Chile, India, some other, I think I don't remember, the fifth was Latin America as well, probably Mexico. The US was the eighth position, and Spain was like a 15 or something like that. So that means that Latin America has the millennial leadership is coming up, and that is gonna make the most impact in the entrepreneurship and technology industry.
Great. Well, that was really insightful. I appreciate our panel. And if I'd like to open it up for maybe one question. Oh.
Let's hold questions. We'll share the contact details or catch up with the 3 J's after at any time. And we want to move on to the next panel. If that's okay? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Please give them a round of applause.